welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here as Wake Up Call is with you in our Travel Great Lakes Honda City studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. They are open for sales and service Monday through Saturday. All you have to do is go to 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York, or go online to GreatLakesHondaCity.com. I am inside of the Spectrum Center. I'm calling it live from the HIVE this week on Wake Up Call, as we are here, the home of the Charlotte Hornets of the NBA and the home of the ACC 2026 Men's Basketball Tournament. I've been with you throughout this week, and we've been able to broadcast live here in the last 3 days now in a row, and I want to thank all my guests for being a part of the show. I want to thank the Senior Vice President for ACC Men's Basketball, Paul Brazo, for being here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, as well as Bob Holliday, who works for WRAL, has been a longtime sports journalist and has covered 47 ACC tournaments, which is amazing. So now I can say I've talked to two people that have done something for 47 years, him covering the ACC tournament and Jim Boeheim being the head coach of the Syracuse Orange. Also want to give a special thanks to Trip Durham, who I met through the ACC kickoff and ACC tip-off in his emceeing of those rooms, the press conference rooms, and of course him being the mascot coordinator for the ACC and the women's basketball tournament and the men's basketball tournament, as well as the work that he does with 2D Consulting, and of course many thanks to Brian Kersey, the ACC supervisor of men's basketball officiating. So a lot of great guests have been here, and of course I am sitting here, and just on the other side of my screen is the court, and we are here tonight for the semifinals of the ACC tournament. And yesterday was filled with adventure as we saw Virginia in their first action of this 2026 ACC tournament as the second overall seed. They advanced through the first two rounds, and so they played yesterday in their first game, and they were able to stave off their competition and move their way into the semifinals as Virginia took down NC State, the number 7 overall seed in the ACC tournament, who got to where they were in the quarterfinals of the ACC by defeating 15-seeded Pitt, who upended 10-seeded Stanford in the first game of this year's men's basketball tournament. And so we'll see Virginia in the game tonight after taking down the likes of NC State yesterday in the first game, and then Miami in their first action of the ACC tournament as the number 3 overall seed of 15. Keep in mind that 15 of the 18 make it. When the ACC expanded last season from 15 to 18 schools, they kept the tournament at 15. There was a conversation of 12, 18, or staying at 15. They decided to stay at 15, and so with the top 15 seeds, Miami, number 3 in the seeding here for the ACC, went up against number 6 seeded Louisville, and Louisville gave them everything they could. Miami was able to get through that game 78-73, which gives us our first matchup of the night in the ACC tournament semifinals for the men's basketball side of things here on Friday the 13th. And it's funny because I traveled years ago when there was a double Friday the 13th in February and March, and now here I am again traveling with Wake Up Call on the road, hashtag Wake Up Call OTR we use for short, and back here with the double Friday the 13th, which is meaningful to me because my grandfather, my Papa Cavino's favorite number, 13, and not only that, but his number and my number show up together a lot, sometimes almost daily, with 21 and 13 forming 213, and his lucky day was Friday the 13th, because if you knew anything about my grandfather, he would take all of the negative stuff and turn it into positive, take all the unlucky and turn it into his own luck. So happy Friday the 13th, especially to my Papa Cavino up in heaven, and I miss you and I love you and I hope you're proud. The second game tonight will feature the Duke Blue Devils, the number 1 overall seed in the ACC tournament, who took down the number 8 seeded Florida State by 1 point, 80-79. Florida State tried their best to get back into this game. 37 seconds left. They got within 1, and then Duke did not allow a single point after that. And defense showing up big time as Duke moves on to play in the final game of the semifinals here tonight. And North Carolina, the number 4 seed, who advanced to the first 2 rounds, went up against number 5 Clemson. Clemson played in the second round after automatically advancing through the first. They faced off against 13-seeded Wake Forest, beat them 71-62, and then Clemson went up against North Carolina and defeated North Carolina 80-79. Ironically, the last two games of the ACC quarterfinals last night ended in the exact same score, 80-79, with Clemson moving on. So the top four seeds would have moved on, but Clemson had something to say about it with knocking out number 4 seed in North Carolina. So we have the top 3 seeds plus the 5th seed moving on to the semifinals to decide who's going to play in the championship here from the Spectrum Center in Charlotte, North Carolina, the home of the ACC, this Saturday, March 14th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. So, of course, a lot of great things coming up here on the show today. We're up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe with you on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. So however you're connected with the show, we thank you for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and of course in this very special broadcast of Wake Up Call that we get to bring you here today and that we've gotten to bring you throughout the week, which I am simply calling Live from the Hive, because I respect that the Spectrum Center is the home of the Charlotte Hornets, as well as being the home right now of the ACC men's basketball tournament. And I'm very grateful to the ACC for everything that they've allowed me to do over the years, covering this league for 14 years, I believe it is at this point. And in my coverage of the ACC, being able to go to the ACC tournament in Washington, D.C., as well as Brooklyn, New York, for a couple of those occasions, and to, of course, be down in Charlotte, North Carolina, as well as in Greensboro. So many thanks to the ACC for all that they have done and for allowing me to be a part of this ride. Truly means a lot to me. So I'm happy to be here with you, happy to be hanging out, and we have a lot of things to get to. As you know, on our Friday broadcasts, we are always bringing you the annoying moment of the week, proudly presented by Carvel DeWitt. We'll also be bringing you our lead segment, which is the acronym that stands for Learn, Evolve, Ad-Lib, and Deliver, and then is proudly presented to you by Chick-fil-A Cicero. We'll get into the Top Dog of the Week announcement presented by K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare, and I will be bringing you my Central and Upstate New York High School Player of the Week, proudly presented exclusively by Myers Creek, with 2 locations, one on the countryside on 33 Rippleton Road in Cazenovia, and the other that you will find by going to the Syracuse Inner Harbor on 720 Van Rensselaer Street in Syracuse, New York. So wherever you go to Myers Creek, let them know that DT sent you in their direction. So with that being said, from the ACC tournament on this wonderful day of the ACC semifinals, we're coming to you almost 3 hours before, well, I should say just a couple hours now, before the tip-off of our first game at 7 p.m. Eastern Time between Virginia and Miami, and then our second game will be at approximately 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and that will be Duke going up against Clemson. So without further ado, we're going to get into our Central and Upstate New York High School Player of the Week, proudly presented by Myers Creek. Our Central and Upstate New York High School Player of the Week, proudly presented by Myers Creek, going out to Bol Garang. Bol Garang for the work that he did in helping Nottingham boys basketball get their Section 3 Class AA championship for the 2025-26 season in a 57-49 victory over East Syracuse Manoa. He had 27 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and a block. Bol Garang, once again, for Nottingham boys basketball, our Central and Upstate New York High School Player of the Week. The wonderful work that he's done, and I want to give it up to Nottingham overall for the incredible run that they've had this season to a Section 3 Class AA championship. Shout out to Bol Garang, and thanks to Myers Creek. 33 Rippleton Road in Cazenovia as well is on 720 Van Rensselaer Street in Syracuse, New York, in the Syracuse Inner Harbor. Our Central and Upstate New York High School Player of the Week going to Bol Garang. So with that being said, shout out to him and much love. We're going to jump right into the annoying moment of the week, proudly presented by Carvel DeWitt.
Dan Tortora proudly brings you...
Is that for real?
Are you kidding me?
The annoying moment of the week.
I really honestly, I don't know how to respond to this.
Presented by Carvel DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street. It's what happy tastes like.
Do you have to be that crazy? I guess so. And the annoying moment of the week for this week, man, I could probably say up in central and upstate New York, it's the snow coming back. I mean, right before I left, I don't know what is going on, but wherever I have traveled to, it seems like when I go to the warmer climate, the colder weather comes with me. It happened when I was in Florida when it was 51 degrees when we were at Universal Studios, my mom and I, and it got a little bit cooler here today, but I gotta say, I mean, the weather's been fantastic down here. No complaints. There's been a breeze pretty much every day except for maybe the first day, but when I got down here, I think it was like 81, and then the next day was warm, so Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday, yesterday, was probably like 61 or 62 outside, and today I think was in the 50s, but the sky was completely clear, just total blue, so nothing but love for Charlotte, North Carolina. But I guess I would say for my hometown of Syracuse, New York, the fact that the snow before I left, because we got unseasonably warm, got up into, I think, the 70s, 75, 80, somewhere around there. And the snow that was in my backyard for 5 weeks, at least 5 weeks. I mean, I got used to my backyard just having snow in it. And then I saw my lawn for the first time in like a month and a half. And I was like, okay, well, it's warm now. It feels like it's going to be spring now. And then I was told today that it snowed a little bit. And it's supposed to apparently maybe snow again. And by the time I land this weekend, coming back from Charlotte to my hometown of Syracuse, New York, we are looking at 20-degree weather, I believe. So I guess I'll call that an annoying moment of the week for those of you watching and listening from Central and Upstate New York, because I know that we have a lot of you, and I appreciate you all so very much for tuning in to the broadcast Monday through Friday in our normal scheduled broadcast hours, which is 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets life. We're different for today and tomorrow. We're going to actually give you some bonus shows this weekend because, like I said, we're Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Today, on a Friday, we came to you a little bit after 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time because I wanted to be inside of the Spectrum Center when we went live again here in Charlotte, North Carolina from the ACC Tournament, going live from the HIVE, what I'm calling it here, with the home of the Charlotte Hornets. And when you look at the giant boards that are in the center of the arena, when you're looking at all these video screens underneath that, you can see that the HIVE is still very much there representing the Charlotte Hornets. So I wanted to go live again here today. So we moved from 9 to 11. We moved around 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time today so that we could do this going into the two semifinal games. And then tomorrow we're going to be going live around dinner time because the finale of the ACC Tournament in men's basketball is going to be at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So we'll be back here in the Spectrum Center to give you a bonus show. And then I believe there may be another show with my predicting of the NCAA tournament, how many teams are going to get in from each conference. There's 32 conferences, so we'll do a little update of that, but I'm going to break down and give you my field and my prediction before the NCAA committee, so the selection committee, releases who's actually in it. I'll be giving you my predictions and my thoughts and who's on the bubble, so I'll be bringing that all to you before we get the official word from the NCAA on who's in and who's out. So make sure you stay tuned to that. So still plenty more Wake Up Call, under promise, over deliver. That's what we do here on the show. So my annoying moment of the week, like I said, it's got to be that there's snow back in Syracuse because I know my Syracusans are over it. My other annoying moment of the week, what'd I say? I would say my other annoying moment of the week is just the fact in today's society that, you know, people like to tell people what to do and how to do it, and you know, kind of the unsolicited opinions. And I feel like I just said this to a guy who he was getting ready, and he was like brushing his teeth in the public restroom, and he was like, I'm sorry, man, for doing this. You know, he's like, I forgot to do it today and I have to do it. And I was like, don't apologize to me. I said, we could all do a little bit better in this world if we stop judging each other. I said, I think people that judge each other aren't taking care of their own lives. They need to focus on themselves. That's what I told the guy. So, in so many words, and I just think that is absolutely positively the truth. We need to focus more on ourselves and taking care of ourselves and having an opinion on other people. And so I would have to say that's probably another annoying moment of the week, because if you're busy critiquing other people's lives, you're not busy enough taking care of your own. That's what I would say, essentially. So let's jump into LEAD. Plain and simple. I don't have to go farther than that. Let's jump into LEAD. Learn, evolve, ad-lib, and deliver. And this acronym probably presented by Chick-fil-A Cicero. Today's topic is having faith. Got to have faith. And, I mean, it's a reality of life. There's certain things that you just have to, I mean, anything that you really care about, you have to have faith. And it's funny because sometimes I lack faith in certain things and in believing things, or, you know, just having a positive outlook on it as opposed to letting my negativity kind of get to me. And I don't like having negativity. I don't even like calling it my negativity. I want no ownership of it because I don't want to have it. And so, you know, when I look at stuff and I say, okay, well, I have reason to believe this by words, by actions, you know, like if you're working with a company, it's like, hey, we're going to pay you, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to work together, it's going to be great. And you have to trust their words, and you have to trust their actions and their consistency and what they do. But you have to have a level of faith, because you don't know for sure if they're going to pay you. You don't know for sure if they're going to be easy to work with, if they're going to set things up and have things ready and answer the phone when you call them or reach out to you or be on time. So I think with anything in life, be it professional or personal, we have to have a level of faith. And, you know, it's funny when I challenge myself on that, and I'm like, you don't have faith in this area of your life, or it's not as strong. And I look at other areas of my life and I'm like, well, how did I know that my company was going to work? How did I know I was going to be able to broadcast on my own and not have to work for anybody else? Like, what made me believe that going out and doing something that didn't exist, that I had to build from the ground up, out of the air in front of my face that I could not see, why did I believe that I was going to succeed in that? And I was like, well, I had faith. You know, I had faith that I could put together, you know, I knew that I could put together a good show. Like, I trusted myself with putting together a show. I built relationships with guests, so I was like, I trust myself in my ability to speak. I trust myself in my ideas and being original and being funny and informative, and just the way I go about what I go about and the personality that I have and the relationships that I have. And then I had to have faith that businesses were going to get involved, or else no money comes into my company. And I had to have faith that I was going to figure out the mechanics of it, right? Where to broadcast from, equipment, you know, what equipment to get, what software to get, what avenues were available to me, what I should take a chance on. I mean, I took a chance on Podbean to broadcast there and pre-record everything at the time because they didn't have any live broadcasts, and I took a chance on Podbean, and Podbean got sold and it blew up, and there's so many things on it now, and now through Podbean I'm able to work with Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, as well as Spotify and TuneIn and probably others. And so, I mean, I took a chance on Podbean, and I had to have faith that that was the right one. And I don't know if it, you know, why. I don't know if, I think it was like my former producer, Nicolo Cicero, he might have said it. And, you know, you find it and then you just hope. And it worked. You know, and then I don't even know, like XSplit Broadcaster, I don't even know why I went there for software for video production and being able to bring my show to you right now and over many years. But I went there and I had to learn the software, and I had to trust in my teaching from school. I want to thank my teachers. I want to thank Marywood University for preparing me for this. I want to thank Christian Brothers Academy for preparing me for this. Our Lady of Pompeii, and Gingerbread Elementary, or not elementary school, pre-K, where I was a gumdrop, and proud to be. So, because we were named after candy, and that's how we got put into rooms, and I was a gumdrop. So, I just really, I had to have, when I look back on it, I'm like, man, I had just faith. I had faith that I would I had faith that I'd figure out how to get on the air, how to plug it into my computer, how to, I was on a radio station, and radio stations have signals, and it costs you $1 million or more than $1 million, and I wasn't going to do that. So, and I didn't want to work for somebody else. So I think what it came down to was just having faith that I would figure it out, that I would find a way to get on the air with audio and then with video, and then learning the equipment and finding businesses to work with and then paying me and trusting me. And then now I look at the business, and it's 13 plus years old, and I've been working for myself longer than I worked for ESPN, Fox, and Yahoo affiliates combined. And I'm blown away by the fact that 99.9% of everything that exists today with Dan Tortora Broadcast Media came from faith. And really believing that if I did the work, God would show me the way. And so I think I got to apply that to everything in my life. I think I got to apply it to my relationships, professionally and personally. I think I have to apply it to everything. And so, I mean, today's topic of lead, having faith, you have to learn, which I have, that you need to have faith in order to move forward. You have to evolve, which I'm learning, into, bringing that faith that you did so easily in one area to bring it into another area, and to stop acting like it's rocket science when you've already done it. To ad-lib when things don't work out or things don't go your way, to still have the faith that you'll find a way, because there's nothing when it comes to broadcasting or doing what I love that's ever going to stop me or ever going to make me QUIT. I don't even like saying the word because it makes me want to throw up. So if I know that I can ad-lib through anything and that I'm going to deliver no matter what is thrown in my way, then you got to take that into every other avenue of your life. You got to take it into every relationship. You have to take it into every place. And you have to realize if you're capable of doing it in one part of your life, you're capable of doing it in every part of your life, because how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? What do they say? How you do anything is how you do everything. So, kind of an eye-opener there, and a wake-up call, pun fully intended, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, as we are live from the Hive inside of the Spectrum Center. The ACC Tournament going on tonight with the semifinals. We have 4 teams left, the top 3 seeds and the 5th seed, because Clemson had something to say about going up against 4th seed at North Carolina. So all the teams that had the first 2 rounds off until the ACC quarterfinals, well, 3 of those 4 made it. North Carolina got sent home not too far away to Chapel Hill from Charlotte. And so we have the top-seeded Duke taking on the 5th-seeded Clemson, and we have the 2nd-seeded Virginia taking on the 3rd-seeded Miami, and we'll get into the ACC tournament in just a moment. But I want to name my top dog of the week, proudly presented by the wonderful team at K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare. You could find them right off the highway, multiple highways, very easy to get to, right off Erie Boulevard, off of Bridge Street, centrally located. When you're driving by, you can see their sign. 315-437-7110 is the number to call to get more information on bringing your dog there for daycare. It's 315-437-7110. And you can also go to K-9 Kamp.com. That's K-9 Kamp.com. So make sure that you do that today. And they're located on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. The top dog of the week for this week, man. There's so many that I can pick from the ACC tournament. And it's hard with some of these teams to pick just one player. But when I think back on some of these games, I mean, I think it's easy for me to, if I first go to the Miami Hurricanes, well, I got to pick the Pitt Panthers. They were the 15th seed. They were the lowest seed in the entire ACC tournament here. They went up against 10-seeded Stanford and took them down 64-63. Found a way. I don't think there's anybody on Pitt that I can say is the guy. I would give it up to the whole team as the top dogs of the week. And then when it comes to Miami, I have to say Shelton Henderson. He slammed the ball home on an exclamation point in a victory by the Miami Hurricanes in their matchup over Louisville. And that was on the basket that is right on the other side of my screen here that I'm talking with you on from the Spectrum Center. And getting to see that up close and personal, I mean, Shelton, he just slammed down and silenced any chance that the Louisville Cardinals had in a two-possession game. So I have to say that. And then with Duke, I mean, the Duke Blue Devils, again, you can say so many different people when it comes to the Duke Blue Devils because of the work that they did, the defense that they had. And I would have to say when it comes to Duke in that game against Florida State that they won 80-79. If I had to pick one player, I guess I think pretty easy for me. I would say Isaiah Evans because he was just going nuts in the first half. Overall in the game, he was 11 for 20, which is better than 50% from the field. He was 7 for 16 from three-point range, which is better than 50% from the field. He had 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, a block, and just 1 turnover and 2 fouls to go with his 32 points in 39 minutes. Keep in mind, folks, that in the Duke game against Florida State, it was just back and forth, pound for pound, getting after each other. And I believe that there were 15 lead changes and 5 ties in the first half of that game between those two teams. So when I go back, and I want to make sure that I'm right here because I know that I put it out on our social media, but so yeah, I'm going back and looking at this game. Yeah, there was, in the first half of the Florida State Duke game, there were 15 lead changes and 5 ties. I'm 100% correct. So I just went and verified with what I had put up during the game. 15 lead changes in the first half, 15 lead changes in 20 minutes, and 5 ties. Just absolutely wild. And like I said, I want to thank by the way, my teachers that I think it was at Christian Brothers Academy, my teachers that taught us how to type, not only how to type, and to understand the keyboard, know where the keyboard is, but to be able to type without looking. To this day, I can still type without looking and find my way around the keyboard thanks to my teachers that I had that taught us typing through having a Super Mario game where Super Mario could not get through the game, jump and get the things he needed, or kill the bad guys if you weren't typing correctly. So you had to accurately do what they asked you to do in the typing world in order for Mario to succeed. So I'm definitely crediting them with everything I had to write yesterday for sure, and the amount of times I had to write things and how quickly I had to write things. So shout out to them. So I'm going to have to say, to Duke, I would say Isaiah Evans is my top dog of the week. And then for Clemson, I got to say it's the guy who I talked with after the game and got to congratulate him and told me he had ice water in his veins is Nick Davidson. Nick Davidson was tremendous in the game. And I think in that North Carolina game too, on the losing side of things, I'd say my top dog of the week is Henry, Visar, and what he was able to do. Because Henry, who I interviewed going into the season at the ACC tip-off, I also had the opportunity to speak with him last night after his ACC Tournament quarterfinal game against Clemson. And I said to him, I was like, you were 3 for 6 from three-point range, but it felt like you made more. It felt like you made like 6 or 10 of those. But he only made 3, which is wild because down the stretch he just came up huge and he trusted in his shot. So I'd have to say Henry is my top dog of the week from North Carolina. And then from the Clemson side of things, my top dog would probably, it was a balanced attack. There was nobody that blew anybody out of the water. Nick Davidson had 17, and Porter had 10, Hunter had 10, Johnson had 10, Buckner had 11, and Godfrey had 13. So a lot of guys getting in double figures on, coming off the bench as well as being in the starting 5. But I think, like I said, ice water in the veins. If I had to pick one from Clemson, it would be Nick Davidson. It would also be ice water in the veins of Dylan Hunter, who had a lot of late game free throws. And if he had missed any of them, then it's a tie game or North Carolina comes back and wins. The way that North Carolina was shooting the basketball down the stretch from three-point range, especially, if any of those free throws were missed, including the late ones by Dylan Hunter, the game would have been in another direction or it would have went to overtime. So I got to say my top dogs of the week from the Clemson Tigers are the Ice Water and the Veins duo of Dylan Hunter and Nick Davidson. So as we talk about that for the top dog of the week, probably presented by K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare, let's just stick with it now and stick with this ACC tournament before we look at the nation. So in yesterday's matchups, like I said, Clemson defeating North Carolina 80-79, and a game before that, Duke defeating Florida State 80-79. The irony of having the same score of the two games that were in the nightcap, and then Miami outlasting Louisville. Louisville gave a tremendous effort, and so did NC State against Virginia. I mean, to look at every single one of these games, to say that all four games of the quarterfinal round of the ACC men's basketball tournament were decided by a combined 14 points in 4 games. 14 points. 7-point difference between Virginia and NC State. 5-point difference between Miami and Louisville, and 1 point of separation between Duke and Florida State and North Carolina and Clemson and North Carolina. So we've seen good basketball all the way through. We saw a 1-point win by Pitt over Stanford in the first round, and then a blowout of SMU over Syracuse that led us into a Virginia Tech game against Wake Forest, where Wake Forest won in overtime. So first day of the ACC men's basketball tournament here in Charlotte, and you got overtime. And that was a 6-point victory by the Demon Deacons over the Hokies. And then NC State, the 7 seed up against 15-seeded Pitt, that was a 10-point game. And a lot of people probably thought Pitt didn't have a chance to win a game in this tournament. And then the Battle of Red with Louisville against SMU, that was a 4-point game, 62-58. Florida State defeating Cal in the 8-9 matchup, respectively, was a 6-point win. And then Wake Forest in their game against Clemson, Clemson won the game by 9. So outside of the SMU blowout of Syracuse, with the 11 seed playing the 14 seed, every other game here has been in single digits except for NC State and Pitt, which was right there at 10. And like I said, in the quarterfinal round, to have the amount of points of separation of 4 games combined to being 14 is crazy. With having a 7-point game in one of them, like I mentioned, and then having a 2-possession game and then a 1-point game in the other 2. I mean, it just goes to show how evenly matched up the ACC has been in these matchups, and that seeding really doesn't matter, and that parity is a real thing, not the parity P-A-R-O-D-Y, but the P-A-R-I-T-Y, right? That no matter if you're looking at the 15 seed or the 10 seed or the 7 or the 1 or the 8, that there's a lot of closeness to this, which speaks even more into existence the fact that the ACC should have many teams in the tournament this year, in the men's basketball tournament. And as I take a look at the standings for the ACC, from what I see, you know, from looking at the standings of these teams to what I've seen on the court of the schools in the ACC here at the ACC tournament, as Wake Up Call comes to you live from the HIVE here inside the Spectrum Center at the ACC tournament in the Travel Great Lakes Honda City Studios. If I had to say right now, based on what I have seen and experienced, coupled with what has been accomplished by these teams, Duke is in the NCAA tournament no matter what. Virginia's in the tournament no matter what. Miami's in. North Carolina's in. Clemson's in. Louisville's in. And then I look at NC State and I look at Florida State. I don't know how you keep Florida State out. If Duke is the number 1 team in the entire country of 360-plus schools in Division I men's basketball, you got to think about that. There's almost 370 Division I schools. There may be right now, because I know it's close. So you got over 350 Division I institutions. If Duke is the number 1 ranked team of all of them, and Florida State plays them to a 1-point game in the ACC tournament, this late in the season, I think you got to put Florida State in. I don't know how you could argue them out. Whoever's going to play the number one team in the nation that tough and then have the record that they have 18 wins overall. They're 10-8 in the ACC. But listen, Duke's gotten in when they've had around 18 or 19 wins. Indiana's gotten in when they've had 18 or 19 wins. So I would say Florida State's got to be in. And I think you look at putting NC State in as well for how they played against Virginia. And they have 20 wins this season in 33 games, and they're also 10-8 in the ACC. So if I'm on the committee, I'm saying Duke, Virginia, Miami, North Carolina, Clemson, Louisville, NC State, Florida State. That's 8 schools of the 18. And I think, when they're looking at in previous years and in not too distant history, when you see the NCAA selection committee wanting to put in almost the entire SEC that has 16 schools, and they want to put in Big Ten teams that you're sitting there scratching your head going, what have they done? If you're going to put in half of the Big Ten or more than half of the Big Ten, and you're going to put in more than half of the SEC, I think for argument's sake this season, doesn't have to be for other seasons, we're talking about right now, I think that the ACC should have 8 teams in this thing. And I think they should absolutely have them in because, again, if Louisville, North Carolina, Virginia, Duke, and Miami are all in, and Clemson's still playing and they just beat North Carolina, so you put Clemson in, then outside of all those teams that I mentioned, you have Florida State and NC State. And I think that they have both shown, and they both have a coach that's, you look at the fact that both of their coaches are they're in their first year at the program. Luke Laux is in his first year coaching Florida State. Will Wade is in his first year coaching NC State. So you got these coaches doing this in their first year. You got Jay Lucas doing what he's doing in his first year coaching Miami. I think that speaks even more to it. When you look at what they've done in the ACC tournament, their records overall, being at 20 wins or being close to 20 wins, and these being coaches that are in their first year with the program, if they're this good in their first year, what can they be as you move forward? And yeah, you could say that the cupboard's not bare and whatnot, but then you also have to look at a team like Miami that went through the transfer portal and was bringing guys in from all over the place that didn't play together. So, there's people that go to the portal and they put together their team and it doesn't work out. Penny Hardaway talked to me about that. When Penny Hardaway and I were talking years ago, he talked about bringing in a bunch of transfer students from the portal from other schools to Memphis, and he was sheerly looking at talent. And then he put the team together and it didn't work because it was just talent. So he had to look beyond talent. He had to look at the character of a human being. And when he did that the following year, the team was a hell of a lot better. So, I think to consider the Florida States and the NC States to get into the NCAA tournament as at-large bids, I think it's no question, because not only have they done well, and not only have they pushed good teams, and they've pushed the top 2 teams in the ACC, but they've done it with coaches that weren't even coaching these institutions last year. So I think that the point has been made that there should be 8 teams in the NCAA tournament from the ACC. There's 36 at-large bids, and you got to figure out where they're coming from. We're going to talk about it momentarily, but I think that the ACC should have 8. Now, I want to give an update on who has the automatic bids. There's 36 at-large bids. There's 32 automatic bids, and what those mean are there's 32 Division I men's basketball conferences, and every men's basketball conference has a conference tournament. So if there's 32 conferences, they all have a conference tournament. Whoever wins their conference tournament gets an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament, right? So if you win your conference tournament, you get in. And there's 32 spots because there's 32 winners because there's 32 conference tournaments. So of the ones that have already punched their ticket, congratulations to Tennessee State of the Ohio Valley Conference, Long Island University of the NEC, Northern Iowa of the Missouri Valley Conference, High Point of the Big South, Queens University here in Charlotte, North Carolina, who was a Division II school just a few years ago. They've had an incredible, maybe arguably the best success story in short time. They're coming out of the A-Sun as champs. North Dakota State out of the Summit League, Troy out of the Sun Belts, Furman out of the Southern, Wright State out of the Horizon League, Hofstra, which is in the state of New York, out of the CAA. Gonzaga out of the West Coast Conference, I believe, for the 23rd time. And then we have Siena out of the MAAC, the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. McNeese State does it again. They did it 2 years ago with former Syracuse guard and current NC State guard Quadir Copeland. They're back again 2 times in 3 years for McNeese State out of the Southland. So shout out to what they're building there. And they're doing it under a different head coach because Will Wade left McNeese after making the NCAA tournament and winning over Clemson with Quadir Copeland. He came to NC State after that, brought Quadir with him. So that means McNeese is not only winning multiple times, and not only getting to the NCAA tournament and winning their conference multiple times in the last 3 seasons, but they're doing it with new players and a new head coach, which is even more of a difficult thing to do. So shout out to McNeese, Lehigh of the Patriot League, Idaho of the Big Sky. The America East will wrap things up tomorrow, and so we'll know their champion. On Saturday, March 14th, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, the MEAC, will have their champion also on March 14th. The Mountain West will have theirs on March 14th. The Big 12, the Big East, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, the SWAC, those will all be on March 14th. The Mid-American Conference, the MAC, will be on March 14th. Conference USA on March 14th. Here at the ACC in the Spectrum Center will be on March 14th. The Big West, the WAC, the Western Athletic Conference, those will all be on March 14th. And then on Selection Sunday, the champions that will be crowned on Selection Sunday, that'll go all the way up to the wire of the committee releasing their bracket, are the Ivy League, the A10, the SEC, the American, and the Big Ten. They will all finish their men's basketball Division I tournaments on March 15th, this Sunday, which is also Selection Sunday. So if we were to just take a broad scope of the nation here, the America East, I'm imagining there's only going to be one team that's going to make it out of the America East to go into the NCAA tournament, and that'll be their automatic bid. So if I'm choosing from the America East, I'm going to say that it's either going to be Vermont or UMBC. That's who I have for that. In the American, South Florida is currently leading the conference out of the regular season. When we look at the American here, I want to go back. I want to look at their bracket. So the American Conference that I've covered since its institution, the American is in a place right now where I want to look at their updated bracket. So the updated bracket for the American is, on the men's side of things, putting us, let me take a look here. I want to make sure that I give you your most updated, because there's some things that are being played right now, like North Texas is currently playing Tulsa, so that game is going on as we speak, live from the Hive here at the Spectrum Center. So going into today, the bracket for the American has us, here we go. So the American in the men's quarterfinals, we're looking at Charlotte going up against UAB, North Texas going up against Tulsa, and the bracket here for the men's side of things, the Charlotte game already wrapped up today. So the Charlotte UAB game, that winner plays South Florida tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. North Texas and Tulsa, that's going on right now, will play the 2 seed Wichita State at 5 p.m. Eastern Time approximately. So the American, I would say, depending on how Wichita State fares and how South Florida fares in this, I would like to think that the American can be a 2-bid conference. So I would say, potentially that we could be looking at South Florida, Wichita State. I mean, they have 4 teams that have at least 20 wins: UAB, Wichita State, Tulsa, and South Florida. Tulsa's got 25 wins. South Florida has 23. So I would hope the American can get in 2, if not 3. In the A-Sun, I would say, I mean, Queens is probably the only team that's going to make it out of the A-Sun. And then in the A-10, you are looking at a bracket here. And like I said, I'm going to break this down more in a show that we have coming up over the weekend, because I do my own bracket unveiling of who I think is going to make it and who's not going to make it and so on and so forth. So looking at the A-10 right now, I would say I mean, I'd like to hope that the A-10 can maybe send more than one, but we'll see what they do there. I think if the ACC sends 8, and then in the Big 12, you got Arizona, Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, Texas Tech, all ranked. If they're going to send those teams forward, then you look at 5 going from the Big 12. The Big East, you know, St. John's and UConn, I would imagine going. Villanova with an early exit can affect them, but they do have 24 wins overall. I think the Big Sky, the Big South will each get 1. In the Big 10, there's 6 ranked teams in the Big 10. And the Big 10 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 9 teams with 21 wins or more. So if the Big 10 sends half their conference with the one automatic bid that counts toward the 32, and then the other 7 or 8 that counts against the 36, the Big West will get 1, the CAA will get 1, Conference USA will get 1, the Horizon League will get 1, the Ivy League will get 1, the MAAC will have Siena. If Merrimack's 23-11, so I'm looking at Merrimack, who they played up against. They did challenge themselves in non-conference play. They played Auburn, they played Florida, but they lost both of those games. If they had won either one of those games, then we could maybe talk about there being another team from their conference, but I think as of right now, that's probably not going to happen when we're talking about the MAAC, probably just Siena. Shout out to St. Peter's, who's gotten better again. They were a great story a few years ago. And then in the MAC, Miami of Ohio, they didn't win the MAC. So I think, you know, that's put them in interesting footing, because they were undefeated at 31-0, but their 31-0 was against like teams that weren't even Division I, and then every team that they beat was unranked. So I don't know how that bodes for them about getting in. I think if it's like, do you take an 8th ACC team or do you take Miami of Ohio? I think you got to take the 8th ACC team. And, you know, I think with the MAC, with them not being in it, speaking of, you know, Miami of Ohio, they lost to the 8th seeded UMass, and UMass came in with a record of 17-15, 7 of 11 in the MAC, so that's not good for them. It's a bad loss too. The MEAC will have 1, the Missouri Valley will have 1. The Mountain West, that'll be interesting if the Mountain West wants to look at New Mexico, Grand Canyon, Utah State. If the committee wants to look at, you know, San Diego State, of those 4, if they want to go beyond that. I mean, I think when you look at the Mountain West, I mean, the Mountain West they've liked in the past, and they've liked in recent history. Speaking of the NCAA selection committee, they seem to be somewhat obsessed with the Mountain West, to the point where they took a lot of teams from the Mountain West and then didn't take teams from the ACC, and then the Mountain West didn't perform well. So I'm looking at the Mountain West right now, and I mean, Utah State's playing Nevada, San Diego State's playing New Mexico. So, I mean, Grand Canyon's not in it. So maybe they get 2 in. The NEC will get 1. Ohio Valley will get 1. Patriot will get 1. The SEC, you would imagine Florida, Alabama, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee. And then where do they go from there? Do they look at Kentucky, who has 21 wins? Missouri's got 20. Georgia, who has 22. And Texas A&M that have 21. The Southern will have 1. The Southland will have 1. The SWAC will have 1. The Summit League will have 1. And the Sun Belt will have 1, and then in the WAC, probably just 1. And then the West Coast Conference is interesting because Gonzaga and St. Mary's are ranked, but Santa Clara's had a good season. So do you look at Santa Clara, who has 26 wins to 8 losses, St. Mary's, who has 27 wins to 5 losses, and then obviously Gonzaga's making it at 30-3, and they're champs again. So I think, the West Coast Conference could send maybe 3, and maybe that's the Mountain West of this year, and the Mountain West only gets 2 or maybe 1. So we'll have to see how it all shakes out. To those of you that have never broken down and done your own bracket, kind of putting a bracket together, I'm probably talking gibberish to you, but it's something fun, and I love doing it. And instead of looking at somebody else's bracket world and seeing what they have, to me it's like I like to put my own together. I like to be a source of information instead of just sharing another place that puts something out there. And so to me, it's, if I can be a source, let me do it. So I'm watching people predict brackets and predict who's on the bubble and who's going to make it and who's not going to make it. And I thought to myself, why not just assemble it myself? Figure out who the automatic bids are, predict who the at-large bids are, and then put them on the seed line that you think the committee is going to put them at, and then see what it looks like. And I'm going to be right and I'm going to be wrong, but I'm going to have fun, and it provides great content for you and I to interact and speak about whether we agree or disagree. And as I always say here on Wake Up Call, you can disagree with me vehemently. I only ask for 2 things. Justify your opinion and be respectful. If you can justify your opinion and you can be respectful, we're good. And if you cannot mind that I eat peanut M&Ms on the show right now because I'm hungry, then we're also good. So with that being said, that's a look around the country. Like I stated before, the majority of the remaining, well, I should say it's balanced, of the tournaments that are remaining to decide automatic bids, many of them will end this Saturday, March 14th, including the ACC that I am here at the Spectrum Center covering, and then the rest will end on Selection Sunday. I always found it weird to end things on Selection Sunday. It made me kind of call BS that the committee hasn't made up their mind on certain things, because is the committee really sitting there going like, all right, we're watching these games that are going to end 2 hours before we have to decide, or do they already have an idea? So I'd imagine maybe they have a bunch of different scenarios based on who's left, who's playing in the championship game. If this team wins, and we'll take these 2. If this team wins, we'll take 1. If this team wins, we might take 3. Maybe that's how they break it down. I mean, the Ivy League that's ending on Selection Sunday, I think they're only going to get 1. The A10 may get a couple. And like I said, the SEC will get a bunch. The American, I would hope, gets 2, if not 3. And the Big Ten, they'll probably have 8 or 9. Because the committee has shown that they love the Big Ten. And, the marker used to be that if you got to 20 wins and you had some good quality wins, so if you got to 20 and then you beat what is now considered a Quad 1 or Quad 2, which back in the day was RPI or strength of schedule, then you got in. If you had 20 wins and you beat some good teams along the way, you were in as an at-large. That's how it used to be. Get to 20 and then hope you beat some good teams if you don't win your conference tournament. It's a little bit different now with the quads and how teams can change. Syracuse could beat Kansas and it's a Quad 1 win, and then Kansas does terrible the rest of the year and it ends up counting against Syracuse. And if it's Syracuse's only Quad 1 win, but Kansas doesn't have a good rest of the season, now it's a Quad 3 win. So now Syracuse doesn't have a Quad 1 win, not because they screwed up, but because Kansas screwed up. So it's crazy how things shake out, but it is how you finish. And when I talk about putting together, my college football playoff and who I predicted was going to be in this year, I couldn't look at you beat a team that was ranked here. I had to look at how did that team end the season, because Indiana beating Illinois meant nothing to me. Being the number, Indiana beating Illinois when Illinois was number 9 and Indiana was number 16, I think, 16 or 17. Indiana was 19 and Illinois was 9. What other team ranked in the top 10 in the country has lost by 50-plus points in a college football game in recent history? Can you name one? Probably not. So obviously Illinois being number 9 in the country was smoke and mirrors. So I didn't want to sit there and have somebody tell me, hey, this Indiana win over Illinois is a quad 1 win. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Maybe it's a quad 2. It's not a 1. Low quad 2. But Indiana beating Ohio State, that's a quad 1 win. And what Indiana did to Alabama, that's a quad 1, and so on and so forth. And beating Miami, that's a quad 1. So, Indiana proved that they were the best team in college football this season, and kudos to them for that. I didn't see that happening at the onset of the season, but definitely at the end of the season, you could tell that they did the work, and they earned the right to be there. They earned the right to be called the best team in the nation, and anybody who doesn't call them the best team in the country is nuts, in my opinion. So now that we look at college basketball and I go back to that quad system, I can't say you beat a team who was a good team in November, but they're not a good team in March. I'm looking at the ACC right now, and I'm saying if the committee wasn't thinking about Florida State, they better now because of how they played quad 1 Duke. And NC State should be looked at because how they played quad 1 Virginia and how NC State has just played recently in general. You want teams to go to the tournament that have an opportunity to win games. And I don't know how you think Florida State and NC State don't have just as good a chance to win as a team like North Carolina, who they're going to put in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how it all shakes out ultimately. But I'll be here with you tonight. In less than 2 hours, we will have the tip-off of the first game in the ACC Men's Basketball Tournament semifinals as Wake Up Call is live from the HIVE here at the Spectrum Center, the home of the Charlotte Hornets and the home of the ACC Tournament this week, and our travel home with the Great Lakes Honda City Studios here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. 2 games tonight, and it's crazy because I was here for 15 hours yesterday. Got here and broadcasted my show at 9:30 in the morning till a little after 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Then I had a game at noon, a game at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time approximately, a game at 7, and a game at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time approximately. So coming into a day like today, where I got into the arena a little bit after 4, I'm broadcasting with you now, and I only have 2 games, is pretty crazy to say. It's a light day, so to speak. So Virginia, Miami at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be on ESPN2, and then Duke will take on Clemson at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time approximately, also on ESPN2, all leading to the ACC Men's Basketball Championship. The title game here from the Spectrum Center will be tipping off this Saturday, March 14th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. And I want to thank ESPN for giving me an opportunity, the affiliates that did, in Scranton, Pennsylvania on 630, 1240 and 96.1 FM, to ESPN Syracuse that was 1260 at the time, and ESPN in Orlando that was 1080 the team at the time. I also want to thank the Score 1260, a Yahoo affiliate, and Fox Sports Online and Scout.com for all giving me an opportunity before I decided to go out here and do that crazy thing, which is start my own business and figure this out with God. And I would like to think that we figured some things out as I'm sitting here broadcasting live right here on Press Row from the Spectrum Center. Little kid, the little kid me would be sitting here in this room, just be happy to be in the room with my mom, my dad, girlfriend, best friend, family, brothers, sisters. But to have my badge on and to be sitting on Press Row and broadcasting live and to be able to create opportunities like live from the HIVE, none of this happens without faith, believing in yourself, hard work, long hours, and doing what you love and loving what you do. I tell people all the time, this could be in a romantic relationship, a friendship, family, work. You will realize very easily, if you ask yourself this question, do I love it or do I think I love it? Because if you love something, you will go through all the bad times, the tough times, the hard times, the adversity, those times where you just have to have sheer faith and hope when you're moving forward in the fog. If you love it, you'll go through the fog. If you think you love it, man, you'll quit when it's sunny outside. So I will tell you that. If you want to know where you're at in life, think about it. Do I love them? Do I love this? Do I love what I'm doing? Or do I think I love them? Think I love this? Think I love what I'm doing? Because there's a difference. And when you think you love something, at some point, you're going to not want it or care about it. If you love it, you will fight to the death for it every chance you get, and nothing will stop you. And I love it, which is why I'm here, live from the Hive. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Thanks for being with us. I honestly can't say enough words. I just keep wanting to say live from the Hive. And I've been looking forward to wearing this blue suit today with the blue and purple checkered inside. I've been waiting on this one today, so I'm happy that I have it. By the way, my first ever NBA, those of you that know me know that I'm a Toronto Raptor fan, but I will always be a fan in some way, shape, or form of the Charlotte Hornets. It was the first team I was a fan of, and the Raptors didn't come out until I was 9 years old in 1995. So I had a first team, and that first team, the Charlotte Hornets. So, and I got this throwback sweatshirt from their awesome store, and I just wanna like show it all to you. So it's got Charlotte up and down one side with the green, and then on the other side it's got the purple. It's split in half, and it's got the old Hornet logo, which I still love to this day. And I found a newfound love for this Charlotte Hornet logo. So to the city of Charlotte, you're welcome for my money, because I bought a lot of things. And shout out to the Hornets. I grew up watching Alonzo Mourning, Kendall Gill, Muggsy Bogues on those teams. And it's funny because they had the stripes on their jerseys. And then when Toronto came out, my favorite jerseys are the original ones with the giant raptor and the jagged stripes. That they had the white jersey with the silver jagged and then like the black down the center. And I finally, ironically, this is how God works, I became a Jaguar fan when they came out in 95. I became a Raptor fan when they came out in 95. And I always wanted a Damon Stoudemire white original jersey. And I found the Toronto Raptor Damon Stoudemire jersey when I was by Jacksonville covering the Jaguars, and I was in St. Augustine. So how funny is that, to love an NFL team and an NBA team that have no connection, but the jersey that I've been looking for the majority of my life, I end up finding by being in the backyard of the other team that I love. So just funny how God works in mysterious ways and very purposeful ways. So happy to be here with you. Thank you for being a part of the show here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. And thank you for hanging out with me inside of the Hive, live from the Spectrum Center. So today I was able to do all the things that we had to do before we wrapped up the week, giving you the annoying moment of the week, proudly presented by Carvel DeWitt. Lead, Learn, Evolve, Ad-Lib, and Deliver, proudly presented by Chick-fil-A Cicero. Shout out to my man Jimmer Sikowski. Top Dog of the Week, presented by K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare, which I had a bunch of. I had Nick Davidson and Dylan Hunter from Clemson. I had the entire Pitt Panthers team. I had Isaiah Evans from Duke, and I had Henry Visar from North Carolina, to name a few. So shout out to my top dogs of the week, and of course my Central and Upstate New York High School Player of the Week going to Bull Garang, and Bull Garang helping the Nottingham High School boys basketball team win the 2025-26 Section 3 Class AA championship to advance them to the opportunity of winning a state title in the state of New York. So shout out to Bull Garang and to Nottingham. I'm really happy for Nottingham, and it's just a great, awesome story. Bishop Ludd and Grimes, another amazing story. So shout out to all of them, and of course to the teams I've covered over the years, and to everybody in Central and Upstate New York. It's hard every week to pick one person to honor when I get to meet so many of you and your families, and you just warm my heart and you remind me why I'm here, which is to bring people together, to have fun, to show love, and to show people that they matter and they have value and worth. So to all of you that have treated me well, thank you, and I appreciate you. And to everybody that's treated me poorly, thank you. I appreciate you, because you both make today so much sweeter, because God's plans are far better than mine, and He will set a table in front of my enemies. I am so happy to be here, and I just want to thank my mom and my dad. I want to thank my grandparents, my Pop Miller, my Pop Cavino, my Gammy Miller, I want to thank G Mama. Love you to pieces. G Mama is my screen saver on my phone. Love you, G. All of you up in heaven. My dogs, Mordu and Cinnamon, Shady. Of course, my daughter and my little dog at home, Miss Lily. And to just all the people that warm my heart and give me a reason to smile. You know, I smile from the inside out, and I've learned in life it doesn't hurt when you get those bonus smiles that come from just wonderful relationships, new and ones that have been around for a while. Shout out to my brothers, shout out to my sisters, and, you know, just to, again, to God, because God, without you showing me that my faith will always be answered better than I could have ever answered, without you, I'd have nothing. So thank you for that. Thank you for the love. And I appreciate you so very much. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, live from the Great Lakes Travel Honda City Studios. And we are here inside of the Spectrum Center for the ACC Tournament, home of the Charlotte Hornets, which has got me saying this entire week because, you know, I like creating ideas and I like being catchy. So we are live from the Hive here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, bringing you all of our signature segments, talking about the ACC Tournament, taking a bigger look at the teams that have already punched their automatic bids to the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Tournament, who's left over these next few days, and how many teams I think will be going from each conference, which I gave you a broad scope of it. We're going to be breaking down it even more intricately over the next couple days. And I'm also excited that I'm hopeful to be able to surprise you a time or two as we move forward. I do want to let you all know that on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com right now, I have my Q&As with the UNC Tar Heels men's basketball head coach Hubert Davis, as well as center Henry Visar, and Clemson Tigers men's basketball head coach Brad Brownell, their forward/center Nick Davidson, Louisville men's basketball head coach Pat Kelsey, as well as Javon Hadley and Ryan Conwell of Louisville, Miami Hurricanes head coach Jay Lucas, Miami forward Malik Renault, as well as my Q&As with Virginia men's basketball head coach Ryan Odom, NC State men's basketball head coach Will Wade, Florida State Seminoles men's basketball head coach Luke Laux, Cal Golden Bears men's basketball head coach Mark Madsen, SMU men's basketball head coach Andy Enfield, and NC State guard Quadir Copeland, as well as NC State guard Paul McNeil Jr., Wake Forest guard Miles Colvin, Virginia Tech men's basketball head coach Mike Young, former Syracuse head coach Adrian Autry, Syracuse guard Nate Kings and forward Tyler Betsy, SMU Mustangs guard Boopy Miller, and Stanford Cardinal head coach Kyle Smith, Pitt Panthers head coach Jeff Capel III, who has just stated that he will be returning for his 9th season leading Pitt Panthers men's basketball, and also spoke with Pitt Panthers guard Barry Dunning Jr. There'll be more to come by the grace of God tonight with Virginia and Miami, Duke and Clemson, so stay tuned for all of that. Of course, you can find my videos on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on X at CallDT, and on Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. And you can find my audio feed of all those interviews that I mentioned on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So make sure you go there, and of course, you can also search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on any one of these outlets: Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Make sure to download us and to subscribe to us so that you do not ever miss a live broadcast or anything recorded by Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora ever again. So make sure you get yourself out there to all of these wonderful outlets, and we appreciate you forever you connect with the show. I want to thank my support team in Central and Upstate New York, Great Lakes, Honda City, Carvel DeWitt, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world and where you should be going to fill your Easter basket. The Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare, Pizza Man, Brian's Landing, Game Point Sports Complex, Willow Rock Brewing Company with the Willow Rock Pizza Pub that we just started our partnership with, our newest member of our family as of March 1st, 2026, and where we will be having our CNS North Stars live on-site broadcast once a month moving forward. Big time thanks to Chick-fil-A Cicero, K-9 Campground Dog Boarding, Mother's Cupboard where I have my own breakfast sandwich, the Cuse Mac Mother. Go and get it today, bacon, egg, and cheese inside a 2-piece of French toast. Cut it up and have it with some syrup. Pick it up and eat it like a sandwich. Myers Creek with 2 locations, 33 Rippleton Road in Kaz, as well as on 720 Van Rensselaer Street in the Syracuse Inner Harbor. Chick-fil-A DeWitt, Avicoli's, and of course we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Binghamton University Bearcats. Find your Bearcats every Tuesday during Bearcat Time, and that is Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time worldwide, with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni joining me here from Binghamton University, telling the story of the Bearcats. Find it all by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as going to wakeupcalldt.com. On youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, you can click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. On wakeupcalldt.com, you can find Binghamton on the homepage as well as underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information on your Bearcats, go to binghamtonbearcats.com. It is only fitting that the song playing at the Spectrum Center as I'm finishing my broadcast is Put On For My City by Young Jeezy, which I have said that if I ever went and did an event at the Dome in my hometown of Syracuse, New York, if I came out and did my comedy show from the Dome, that I would come out to this song, Put On. Because when I think of this song, Put On For My City, I think of you, Syracuse. I love you all. Be safe. Stay well. Up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, from another home away from home in the state of North Carolina, and from my home for this week, live from the Hive at the Spectrum Center here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I say God bless, no stress, do your best. We've only gotten started tonight. From the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, I tell you to make sure to stay with us on Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, X at CallDT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. Be with us, including on WakeUpCallDT.com, as I will be bringing you full coverage of the ACC Tournament semifinal round between Virginia and Miami, Duke and Clemson. And I'll talk with you soon. God bless, no stress, do your best. Take care, everybody. Remember, you matter.